How's it going, folks? It's Lobo, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a surprise reaction in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And I say surprise because I'm watching it here and now, rather than when it premiered months ago in theaters. And part of the reason why I decided to make that decision was because a few weeks ago, I was going to watch it in theaters originally, but then I heard very soon it was going to premiere on Disney Plus for free, which is today. So I debated it, and I eventually sided with the latter, and here we are. And I wouldn't say I'm like overly excited, but I'm into it. I haven't watched the movie, obviously, but I'm into the idea of this movie, and again, it's hard because you only really can say you're excited. There's no word to go beneath that, but I wouldn't say my excitement is like through the roof, but it's somewhat mid-tier. And the other reason why I never watched this movie is because of my excitement level. And that has to do a lot with the fact that this character I had not heard of prior to the marketing of the movie, as well as just announcement. And as far as I'm aware, before this movie, I don't know how it sort of influenced culture and such today, but I'm pretty sure I've heard from another, again, this is me going off of YouTube comments and Reddit and Instagram and Twitter, so take it how you will. It's different outlets for the fandom. But I heard Shang-Chi in the comics back in the day, as well as recent years up until this movie, was never really a major character in terms of popularity. So I think that has a factor as to why I just frankly never heard of him. But here he is getting his time to shine, so I'm interested to explore his backstory, his powers, because as I said, I know nothing. I don't even know if Shang-Chi is his real name. That might be his superhero name. It could be his name, but a lot of times, again, this has to do with sort of the culture and folklore of the movie. I don't know if there's mystical aspects from Chinese folklore, because I know this derives from Chinese culture, and that's what it was targeted towards originally, but I don't know if it has to do with sort of mythologies and such, and then them taking their sort of twist on it. Kind of like how Thor in Norse mythology. I don't know if it's the same sort of application here. And I also had to just quickly look this up because I just want to get this right. The actor's name is Simu Liu. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. If you've seen any of my content, you'll know that I'm sort of terrible with not just pronunciations, but just speaking in general. I'm very good, surprisingly, at writing, but translating that sort of literary skill to vocalization is not that good. So when it comes to pronunciation of anyone's names, I'm shit at it. So I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but the actor, I know, some funny thing about it is I'm aware of the story where he sort of, you know those like textbooks you get in middle school, high school, college, whatever, just educational textbooks, and you have just the random pictures of construction workers or people doing math shit. He was the one in some of those pictures doing the photography because, again, it was a job, quick money and stuff, so it's cool to see where he sort of started out and look at him now, and he's part of the MCU. So that's a huge leap in terms of his career, so that's awesome to see. And also, he had a tweet from a few years ago where he said sort of like, hey Marvel, let me play Shang-Chi, and it worked. So damn, that's very impressive on his part. I wouldn't say that I'm proud of him because, again, I don't know him personally or really his backstory, but just looking at that in hindsight of sort of setting a goal for yourself and then just outright accomplishing it when you sort of put it out in front of people like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and then you did it. You backed up on your word. You did it. You succeeded. Honestly, that's a very cool, I wouldn't say life lesson, but that's just a cool application to apply to yourself where you can just put your mind to something and accomplish it, and he did it. So that's very impressive for him, and yeah, that's awesome. I'm interested to see sort of more of his backstory because it seems a bit cool, because I always like to see how actors started out, but he seems to have an interesting story. But anyway, on to the movie. Again, as I mentioned, I'm not overly aware of the character. So again, power levels or just powers in general, backstory, real name, biography, all that stuff, I have no idea. I don't know where this movie takes place. I don't think it takes place in China. I heard someone say San Francisco, but I don't think so. It's just, it would be nice if it took place somewhere else than New York, because sort of the running joke with Marvel is that literally everything takes place in New York, which is kind of, I wouldn't say annoying, but it's a little far-fetched. I mean, again, I guess New York is just a hotspot, but it's just funny to see everything take place in New York. Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Avengers, and all sort of events of the MCU literally transpire in New York. Versus DC, where you have Metropolis, Gotham, Central City, and all this sort of different cities where different shit happens. It's not all comprised in one location, but yeah, we're just gonna get started here. I don't really have any expectations for the movies other than I heard conflicting reviews. Again, you should always judge a movie for yourself. I heard some people loved it, some people said it was typical MCU formula, yada yada yada. I don't mean to insult you if you have that opinion, but I'm just saying it's just, I understand if some people can get tired of the MCU formula, but these are all superheroes, so they're bound to share characteristics of themselves, which is sort of the same storyline. You rise and then, well, you fall first, then you rise in sort of a hero's journey. Again, they're all superheroes. They have the same sort of linear and outline of how their story's going to progress. And sure, while comedy is a reoccurring theme in a lot of these movies, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it is what it is. So I'm just going to watch this movie and come to my own conclusions, because that's frankly what I do with everything. Because a lot of people said Black Widow was terrible, and I enjoyed that a lot. And I was like, what? This is a bad movie? What? And same thing with Eternals. I have not seen it. I've seen a lot of people love it. I've seen a lot of people hate it. So the best thing to do is watch the damn movie for yourself, and then you can see where you side with it. So that's what we're going to do here, or at least I am. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one, and we're going to get started. So let's just roll with it. One more thing. Before we begin, I just would like to say that I'm aware of his backstory somewhat. I kind of contradicted myself there, because I said no, I know nothing, but I know this has to do with the Mandarin, not the one from Iron Man, not Trevor, I think his name was, and he was like an actor, like the real Mandarin. And I think there was the 10 rings. I don't know what sort of significance they hold in comics or the MCU or where they come from, but I do know that they changed them, where before in comics there were actual rings that you wear on your fingers. Instead, now they sort of roll up onto your lower arms. So, or those forearms, I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a doctor, as you can see, but yeah, they changed that. So there's a comic difference. I heard it was just because of the fact that they did Thanos' gauntlet, the Infinity Gauntlet beforehand, so they didn't want people to get confused. I don't know how you could get confused, but from a visual standpoint, I can actually see and understand that, believe it or not. So interesting choice, but we'll see how it turns out. I'm interested to see what this movie is about. And enough talking from my dumbass. Here we go. All right, I have the movie loaded up, and I just wanted to say this quickly before we begin. And one other thing I would like to mention is that I'm going to be watching the original theatrical release version of this movie, meaning they released two versions for Disney Plus. There's the IMAX Enhanced, and then, as I mentioned, the theatrical version. If you don't know what that means, is when you watch the screen and you look at the visuals, you'll see the iconic black bars in movies at the top and the bottom, and they sort of stretch across the screen. IMAX Enhanced eliminates those, so it's actually a larger picture. So obviously that would be more immersive and better visually to look at, but I just want to go and watch this and experience it how everyone else did, and then on a rewatch, then I'll watch it on the IMAX. If you're just wondering as to why I'm deciding to do that, there's your answer. So we're going to watch the original theatrical version. So, here we go.
给了他神一般的力量，也赋予了他长生不老的魔法。千百年来，他们扫荡了世界的每个，也改写了历史。
It's kind of like the League of Assassins, or, well, in the Nolan verse, the League of Shadows.
千年，但他却还不满足。
Damn. He's legit like Ra's al Ghul. For real. The organization, living for 1,000 years, still chasing this sort of power. This is like a magic forest.
你好像不知道我是谁。
我不管你是谁。
It's very artistic. I like that. Sort of expertise in sort of combat becomes almost like dancing as an art form. So it's cool to see that. But this is this is a very playful fight. So I'm just gonna make the assumption here that this is Shang-Chi's parents. So that would make the Mandarin his father? Oh shit! What the hell? Different color. In the promos, it's the same color that he uses, that orange. That's why I changed the lights to orange. Versus where he uses purple, or sort of bluish.
等你领悟了神龙之心，你就可以做很多了不起的事。
San Francisco. So it is in San Francisco. I said I thought it was either in China or in San Francisco, so I guess it's San Fran. Oh, that's not him. I was gonna say, damn, he's pulling up.
Welcome to the fair.
I'm driving.
Comes out of nowhere, steps right between us, and starts screaming the lyrics to Hotel California.
What? It's the art of confusion.
Doesn't make any sense.
Did you think valet parking is easy?
It's like the most challenging job ever. You need people skills, driving skills.
That is exactly the daughter my mom wishes came out of her vagina.
Wow.
香烟给我。
A public robbery?
我不想惹麻烦。
Is it because it was his
香
mom's?
烟交出来！ What up, yo?
It's Captain Hook. Or maybe Captain Sword. Yo, not a essay! Damn, that was so smooth. Holy shit, that was a hard-ass punch. Does he have super strength? He has to. There's no way any human could do that. I mean, his mom had powers without the ring, so that's probably what it is.
You and your sister deserve what's coming.
Sister? Oh, did he steal it?
Those guys back there were sent by my dad.
Fine. You can explain on the plane.
What? No, Katie, you can't.
You can explain on the plane, Sean.
She's definitely a highlight of this movie.
After my mom died, my dad started my training. From sun up to sundown, I was taught every possible way to kill a man.
Yeah, dude, the fight scenes in this are just out of the world, bro. Holy shit. Yeah, the choreography in this movie has been amazing so far.
That's how old I was when he sent me on my first assignment. If he asked me to burn the world down, I would have asked him.
Beef or vegetarian?
He's in the middle of his cool story. It's definitely a Marvel moment.
Because that's all you have, right?
Okay, you'll have the beef.
Yes.
And
the beef.
I knew that I couldn't go back to him, so I just ran.
Shang?
Yeah.
You changed your name from Shang to Sean?
Yeah, I don't.
I wonder how your father found you.
I was 15. 我在找我的妹妹，徐夏玲。
Okay, let's get you ready to fight.
Wait, what?
Well, multi-platform global operation.
Oh yeah, since I'm assuming this is the arena thing, but I'm aware that Wong is in this and Abomination. I saw like the first trailer. Just getting that out of the way. Oh, that's like an Iron Man 3 guy. Yeah, there they are. Oh, that is so much more comic accurate. Abomination looks really good in this. Thank God for the sling rings, baby.
I committed, bro. What? You signed the contract, remember? Your name's on the roster. The bets are
Oh. That's interesting. Bus boy. I used to be a bus boy, by the way, years ago. That was my first job. It's the second sister. Oh wait, it's his sister. She literally brought him out here just to fight him. Every man felt that.
爸要来找你。
我3天以后就回来。
He never came back in those 3 days.
Where did you get all that money?
She betted against them.
Did you bet against me?
No.
3 days turned into a week turned to a month, and a month turned to 6 years.
Then why would you send me the postcard?
What postcard?
Oh, it was just a trap?
Just head straight for that elevator. You got this.
Yo, if there's a fight on the scaffolding, that shit would be awesome. Oh my god, it's really gonna happen! Oh yeah, they have like the hooked blades like Cabal. That was sick. This is legit like Mortal Kombat, bro.
On a dark desert highway. Cool
Wind in my hair. No way. Holy shit, bro. This one shot, man. Holy fuck, bro. That was clutch. Oh, is his sister gonna help him? Well, she kind of kicked his ass, so he needs the help right now. Why did he leave her? Or just never try to contact her? That's what I'm wondering.
What does he want with the pendant?
Oh, it's the one who trained him. Damn, dude, he's got wheels, bro. Holy shit, this is some Winter Soldier type shit, bro. Bucky and his knife flipping. This would make him proud. He's finally gonna win. Oh shit, Daddy says no. But why now, and why the pendants? That's very interesting. I like how he let Katie just tag along for the family reunion.
But I watched everything they did and taught myself to do it better.
Oh. In the flashback, that's why she was training by herself.
Shang-Chi. 可以了。If you want them to be yours one day, you have to show me you are strong enough to carry them. He didn't know my actual name. He invented a new one. Do you know the name he chose?
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin. He gave his figurehead the name of a chicken dish. And it worked. America was terrified.
Iron Man 3.
She showed me a part of myself I didn't know was there. She gave up everything so we could be together. And so did I. After all those years, I finally found something worth growing old for. And when she died, I was lost for many years. But I'm not lost anymore.
Oh, that is so cool.
The passage
Oh, it's like a forest.
by a moving maze. But there's a direct path through the forest.
It's the forest where they met. Oh, that's so cool.
Your dad should definitely see a therapist for his delusions, but then that dragon vomited a magical water map, and now I have no idea what's real.
How was that?
What the hell? Sounds like Sloth from Goonies. Oh! It's Trevor!
Are you the governor's kids? I've been preparing a monologue for your homecoming dinner. I rediscovered my passion.
Then my dad broke you out.
Exactly.
To kill you.
Exactly. But just as his men were time. What the hell?
Oh!
What is that?
Oh! Who?
I can see you. You're real. All this time I thought I was hallucinating him. Such bad news.
How would he know me?
He says he grew up with your mum in Tarlo.
Oh, he's from that dimension. Even with no face, it's kind of cute. Of course.
90% confident he can guide us through safely. Oh, 19%.
Oh my god. I kind of like this
Razor
guy.
Fist?
Just head up that ramp and through the front gate. Should be.
Oh, is that the Captain Hook guy's name's Razor Fist? Razor Fist. I wish Rocket was here, bro. He'd make fun of him. This shit sounds like Taser Face.
That's when I knew. If they can teach those monkeys to act that brilliantly, just imagine what I could bring to the world. They were simply acting as if they were riding horses. I still can't get my head around it, to be honest.
Oh shit, the wheel's on that side. I was like, how is Trevor driving with him? It's a European car, that's why.
Forest eats us. Eats us? What does that mean? It says it eats us. Go left.
Man, if this was medieval times, they'd be screwed without a car. Oh, it looks so cool. Oh, that thing looks so cool. I have like something like that on my desk. Wait. See? It's just a fun little fact. I have this on my desk.
夏琳，我是你们的小姨，应南。终于见到你了。Look who has found his way home.
Not a threat. Just an entertainer. Morris can vouch for me.
We are the keepers of the Dark Gate, sworn to protect this realm and yours from the evil that's locked behind it. Until the attack of the Dweller in Darkness. He came with his army, devouring every soul in their path. They were lured here by the voice of something on the other side. A voice that promised them their greatest desires.
I've seen this before in other movies, but it just nothing comes to mind right now. Like a demon impersonating to sort of lure a human to freedom. Well, I say demon, but like a darker figure or entity. Like a deceiver. Oh, is he gonna get his outfit? Like this sort of crimson, yeah. Ooh, she gets a silver one. Yeah, it's literally like Scorpion Spear. Well, what Hanzo used before he died.
Guangmo, you saw it! That was tight!
My mother was the only one who could beat him. Show me how she did it.
Sir.
以心行气，以气运身。他已经不是以前的那个人了。
那我不管。
杀气，别怕。
是他错。如果我当初没有，
我真的不知道。
No. We found the man responsible for killing your mother. It is your right to finish this for both of us.跟我讲话礼貌点。我吃的盐比你吃的饭还要多。
That's so cool.
Burn it down.
I'm not afraid of you.
Yes, you are. Always running. Always hiding. You were there when they came for her, and you did nothing. You stood at a window and watched her die.
She was gone, and we needed you. But you chose those damn rings over us! Even if you could bring her back, what makes you think she'd want anything to do with you?
We're going to go home.
He breached the gate!
Stealing souls to feed the dweller in darkness.
If it goes long enough, it will break right through the gate. That was just the beginning.
This dweller in darkness and sort of impersonating a loved one to, again, as I said earlier, to get a human to release them. I swear I've seen this before and it's driving me nuts. I can't put my finger on it. Not this particular one, but this idea. It's driving me crazy.
你要把我们给你的一切化成你自己的力量。去吧。
Oh shit! It's the Great Protector! That dragon looks so cool, man. Oh my god.
Out of my way, boy. Now.
He's starting to fight like his mom. Yeah, dude, this is just like the first fight. No!
Calm down, mate. I'm not dead, it's just a performance. Now get down here.
In the back of my mind, I was like... oh, this man. Yo, they turned the color. Just like his mom. And now he's gonna get half. He won't do it.
Dad, please. Your family needs you.
Holy shit, dude. Oh my god, that looks fucking awesome, but creepy. Holy shit, bro! I had a feeling the dragon would do that, man. Oh my god! Oh shit, she's on it! Oh, that's right, she was staring at it. I was like, there's some connection there. Oh, dude, it's gonna keep getting stronger. Come on, Katie, you have to shoot it.
Stop!
I'm not leaving you again.
There we go. What a shot!
Holy shit.
The symbol! Holy shit, man. This looks incredible. This movie, dude.
Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi.
Wong!
Good. Let's go. We have a lot to talk about. You too. Oh.
This is like Avengers vibes with the recruiting.
We'll do this again. Nice to see you, John.
I'll Venmo you for them.
I'll Venmo you. Dude, until, because obviously there's an end credit scene, but until then, I'm gonna talk a bit because I usually do my post reaction discussion. But just some initial thoughts after watching this. If I had an expectation of this movie, because I said, like, I didn't know the character, never heard of him and stuff, so I just came into this with, like, not real excitement. And just coming out of it, expectation was, like, here. Reality is, like, through the fucking roof, man. This... I don't like to sort of instill my opinion on people, but in terms of Marvel, I think this is a top 5 Marvel movie ever made, in my opinion. This movie was incredible, but something I was surprised by so pleasantly was the emotion and heart in this movie. I did not see it coming. The emotional complexity of it and how original it felt and how familiar and how beautiful the story was. Just... again, something I just never anticipated, and it was such a pleasant surprise. And as I said, just a beautiful, beautiful movie, which I'm just gonna break down more once the freaking end credit scene, man, dude.
They're not vibranium.
What?
Not like any alien tech I've seen.
What is it?
A beacon.
We're sending a message. Welcome to the circus.
Or...
Are you kidding me? Wong's the GoPro. Oh my god.
Let's get started. We have a lot of work to do.
Wow, she definitely personalized it. The 10 Rings will return. So, funny thing, I'm actually editing right now, and it turns out my post-reaction discussion is actually just nowhere to be found. I guess the file had an aneurysm and it's not working. So what I'm gonna have to do to salvage the situation is just kind of reiterate what I said earlier, if I can remember. Anyway, I was just talking about how the movie was just so grounded in an aspect that it took something so extravagant and peculiar in sort of grand scale and condensed it and made it connectable and relatable, because it had a very genuine human story with a lot of emotion, a lot of heart, in something that was so, as I said, significant that it made it very special and very unique. So I really, really appreciated that they did that in the film. As I mentioned earlier, again, it's hard because I hate when this happens, because for some reason my computer does this a lot, where it just like deletes files or doesn't properly save it to the point where I can't really recover it. So I don't know if I said it while watching, but one of my favorite parts about this was his father as an antagonist, I think he's one of the MCU's best because of his complexity. He was just not your generic one-dimensional villain that had a goal and was just defined and had their eyes set on obtaining it, that was their end piece, that was their ultimate end game. No, he had a lot, and not to be Shrek, he had a lot of layers to him. And going off of that, you can say it parallels and reminds you of Ego. That's perfectly acceptable because you had a father-son relationship there where the father was the same thing, an antagonist that was gone for years, and it was a reunion, and it didn't turn out as well. But here, it was a different story altogether, and I think I like this one better personally because maybe it had a happier ending, but it felt more real because you could see the progression of his own character when he met his mother, and it was those two worlds colliding, and he had a pretty horrid past, and then she changed him and opened his eyes to something new. And as he said, he found a reason to grow old, which I thought was just such an amazing line. And then his whole world turned upside down when she died, and that's when he put the rings back on. But it was cool to see in one of their confrontations when Shang-Chi was talking to him, that he said, "You chose the rings essentially over me and my sister," and that she wouldn't want to see the man you've reverted back to. And that's when he hit him into the lake, and I was like, damn, that's such a powerful moment. That was incredible. But he is definitely one of my favorite antagonists because when you watch him, you don't get a feeling of I hate this guy, I'm afraid of this guy. When I watched it personally, I had a feeling where I was just I feel for him, I completely understand him. And that sort of layered complexity is not something you really see, and specifically MCU antagonists these days. Well, you could say superhero antagonists in general, which is true. As I said, he was just very real because of everything he went through, and how throughout the movie, you could see that it wasn't just he was using his children, he actually cared for them. And that's something that I really resonated with. Obviously, there are personal reasons to why this really hit home with me, which I'm just not going to share. It's not anything horrific, but it's just we all sort of connect with characters and storylines for our own reasons, and I liked it. Well, I don't really like, but I guess it hit home with me in a few spots, and I felt connections to the character and some of the relationships that were on screen that I was like, wow, this is just kind of surreal to see occurring, because I'm this sort of mirrors aspects of my own life. So that's where I just sort of have that connection with. But again, just this movie I found in all its aspects was fantastic. In particular I really enjoyed was its ethnicality. What I mean by that is it was leaning into the idea of, again, I'm still unsure if it really comes from, if any of these aspects come from Chinese folklore and such, but it had a huge emphasis on that culture, which I thought was very refreshing to see. It reminds me a lot of Black Panther, when you have the idea of a certain ethnic group or culture and you just really play all your cards and go full in on it, and I felt like that was the experience with Shang-Chi. I didn't feel like it was too Americanized, because I was like, oh, it takes place in San Francisco. That was an interesting choice, because originally I thought it would take place somewhere in China, but then they sort of traveled and dove out, and you could see there was one scene where he was walking with his headphones where it really reminded me of, if you ever played the game Spider-Man Miles Morales, when he puts on his headphones coming out of the subway and he walks through Harlem, and you could see the stores and the bodegas and the huge influence of those cultures, Hispanic, African American, the blend, and it was just really something special and unique, and I felt like they were able to really do that here, because as I said, there was also a scene that sort of paralleled that with Shang-Chi when he had his headphones and he's walking by and there were all shops of that, his own ethnic background. I felt like it was really sort of its own thing and very culturally rich, and I really respect that they did that, and I like that they did that, because again, it's just a refreshing thing that I feel like we need a bit more of in the MCU. I know the Eternals is leaning into that more sort of diverse and modern background, which is very cool to see, I know some people think it can be a forced thing, but I just think it's more accurate to the times we live in and such, because a lot of these comics, again, were written a long time ago. And if you know Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon, or, well, I should just say Jeffrey Wright as an actor. I don't know why I just blurted James Gordon, but he said something very good because, again, he's James Gordon. He's obviously playing the character, and a lot of people didn't like the fact that he wasn't white. He's a black man. And he said something very, very awesome about how modern times are just... The way he worded it was just so amazing. I'll include a link to it down in the description because I just thought Jeffrey Wright on his own right, no pun intended, is just a very intelligent man, and he's very incredibly well spoken. And I love the way he's able to articulate words, but he did this in such a way that made so much sense and just sort of put the haters at rest. And I thought it was just such an incredible thing. It's just, we live in a different times, and it's not necessarily right to be beholden to comics that came out so long ago, to the point where it was just a different demographic in cities and in metropolises. Like larger cities, you get the larger areas, because obviously America has changed over the years, and as well as the entire world and society in retrospect. But he sort of went more into that. Again, I'll just include it in my description. But as I was saying, the point of all this was that this story, you could see more than just your casual American citizens. You could see a huge sort of ethnic background that worked very well for the tone of the movie, and again, leading into that cultural aspect that makes it very unique and special, because it's not something we see a lot of. So I really appreciated that. But more in on that culture thing, the set designs, and you could see the architecture and the garden and the I'm not a scientist, so I think it's fauna. That's like plant and plant life, the fauna or whatever. It looked, again, so exotic but beautiful at the same time, that it brought its own atmosphere and it was its own character. I know sometimes they might have leaned into the mythological, fantastical aspect, but it still felt so different than what I'm used to and what everyone else is used to in these movies, and just movies, American movies in general, that I was like, wow, this is very great and very nice to watch. And one other thing, I mentioned this in my post discussion, but I obviously here it's different because I had to redo it. Was the music was phenomenal. There were so many scenes where it was a very emotional interaction between characters, and usually it was him and his father, and the music just added so much depth to it because it was very beautiful music. I'm unaware of the instruments because I'm not a musician. I'm neither a doctor, scientist, nor musician, so when it comes to those things, I have no idea. But I think it was like a flute or a lute or something, but it's that same style. I forget what it's called. It's a very specific style, and I'll watch sometimes artists who are able to do it, and it's just very beautiful music. It makes you feel the sense of nature and calmness and spirituality, but they were able to bring it here to a point where it felt so much like it laid with the tone and the vibe of the movie that it worked incredibly well. And when you overlaid it with those emotional scenes, it was just like, wow. I don't know if you could see, man, but I was kind of like tearing up in some things because I was like, wow, this just visually, the stakes and overlaid with the sound, it just makes it such an incredible experience and moment. And then it really heartfelt, so I loved the music. I thought music was one of the best one of the best aspects of the movie. But yeah, I don't want to dwell too much on this post-reaction because I want to get to editing, because it's like late and I had to redo this bit. So obviously there's going to be some things that I left out, but just going off this movie again, there were some connections I saw. Well, some things it just reminded me of. Specifically, the first time I saw the Mandarin fighting with the rings, the 10 rings, it reminded me a lot of, again, Spider-Man Miles Morales, the Underground, their technology, the sort of creating the whips and going around like that. I'm not going to spoil the game, but the Tinkerer with the whips and then shooting projectiles like this with their forearms and fists and shit. and then using the tech to like lift off, kind of like the rings used to lift off. Those like 3 moves or combinations or whatnot really reminded me of that. And then the whole idea of his organization, the 10 rings, and then he's their leader, and their base is on a mountainside, and he's lived 1,000 years. And like this really reminds me of Raish or Ra's al Ghul, where he has his own fortress and he works with the League of Assassins. They work in the shadows. They've operated in different cultures and societies and cities throughout all the world for all the ages, and he's lived for a very long time, around 1,000 years. Again, comic variations and such, but it was also, I'm like, wow, this really reminds me of that. I'm not saying that they like stole it from one another or whatever, because that does happen with DC and Marvel, but I just thought it was just really what it reminded me of, which is not a bad thing. It was just cool to see. I'm like, wow, this just really reminds me of that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. So for those of you who watched up until this point, I appreciate it. And if you would like to let me know what you think, that would be awesome, because I'm very interested to see how other people enjoy this movie. And if you have any questions on what I thought of, because again, this post-reaction was shortened because my original one was lost, unfortunately. So if there's something I didn't talk about that you want to know my opinion on, I'd be glad to share with you. And again, I don't think I said it, because again, this reaction got cut off, but in terms of this movie and placement and such, I think this is one of the best Marvel movies they've made because of the emotional complexity, how real it was, and how, again, it was just such an extravagant plot with those fantastical elements, and then you were able to ground it and make it familiar to yourself. Or it was the director, the writers, the team that was created this was able to make it familiar to the general audience, because it just felt so real in terms of emotion and weight and connection. Because as I mentioned, I there are certain aspects where I was like, wow, I can see this in my own life. So if it applies to you too, I don't know if that's wonderful, but that's cool to see, because it's a real thing. It's comics, it's heroes, it's magic and such, but they're still people at its core. And to remind you of that factor in such a beautiful way and in such a special way is amazing to see. So yeah, I think this is one of the best Marvel movies. This is easily already become one of my favorite MCU movies I've seen, and I can't wait to watch it on my better TV. I wouldn't say good. If you don't know my specs, because that's the terminology, I'm sorry. Because a lot of people, I'm such a huge gamer, but when it comes to like PC and people are like, check out my GPU, CPU 3, whatever, those numbers and those things don't mean anything to me, because I'm like, they don't really get that shit, man. So when people are like, oh, what are your specs? I'm like, I have no idea. But just like measurements, my TV that I react to all my shows and movies on is, for some reason, I can't get it to work at 1080p, so it comes in at 720, and it's 20 inches, like 20 inches long. So it's a small TV. That's what I'm on. My camera that I'm talking to is mounted on the top of it. So it's 20 inches, and it's 720p. In my bedroom, I have my better TV. I actually don't know how big it is. I think it's around 50 inches. And I got it on sale. It's a 4K TV. It's not, for some reason, it's not UHD, which I wish it was, but I can never get the damn thing to work, so I don't think it has it. I thought it just would come with it, so maybe I'll have to get a new one eventually. And I have my PS5 hooked up to that. So watching this on Disney Plus on the IMAX version and 4K on my TV with it running on my PS5 should certainly be a lot better than on my moderate PC and shitty small TV computer monitor thing. So yeah, I look forward to that. And as I said, I was saving the IMAX for my own personal watch, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm excited for that. Obviously, I'm going to have to watch it in like a couple days because I have things to do, such as editing this, and then again, my own personal life, work, and shit. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. As I mentioned earlier, if you'd like to let me know what you think, that would be wonderful, because I'm very interested and would like to get other people's opinions and perspectives on this movie, because I thought it was a very different movie. but it wasn't different in the sense. It's funny because so many people said this follows the typical MCU formula, and other than comedy, which is not a bad thing, I can't find what they mean, because this felt so different and new. Because again, it's juggling human aspects and emotions and storylines, which every single movie in existence does, because we're humans, or we're limited by the number of things we can do. But this just somehow felt so refreshing and new that it's become such a wonderful sort of thing to look upon. Like I'm just kind of like when I imagine myself reflecting on this movie, it's just going to be nothing but bliss. Honestly. So yeah, I don't see how it's the same. It felt so new and, as I mentioned, special. I really think it's a special movie. So yeah, whatever. I'm going to get to editing this. So like I said, hope you guys enjoyed. And until then, I will catch you folks in my next video.